In the last video, I did promise that we would have a look at this one and have a look at this one. And I didn't have a look at this one. So if we just park that one there for the time being. Hive, or British Gas, clearly don't really want you opening this. I mean, they particularly didn't want you opening this, which is why they've vanished all the screws from it. But they've put this triangular, is it tri-wing? Well, it's this little triangular bit screw, so you'll need one of those if you want to get inside one of this type. This is the model SLP2. The new one is an SLP2B. So we can assume that the insides of this are fairly similar. There was some discussion over whether this acted as a repeater for the network, because all of these smart plugs, when they're connected to your Zigbee network, because these are generally left plugged in and turned on the wall, these work as a repeater in the mesh. So things like the motion detectors, these are endpoints. These can just talk to something, but nothing else can talk to these themselves. So another, say a button, the button can't talk to the motion sensor, but both the button and the motion sensor can talk back to a smart plug, and the smart plug can relay that message back to the hub, or it can relay the message to another smart plug, which can then relay it to the hub, and that's how the Zigbee network builds a mesh of devices. So even if the hub is out of reach of your furthest away motion sensor, the idea is the motion sensor's message, its data, can be sent as a relay through other devices to get back to your hub. So yeah, the discussion was whether these actually worked as a relay or not, and they do. I've seen, because you can. There are various ways to do things on Zigbee networks. Even with these products, you can. There's open source software available on GitHub, which I can of course link to. AlertMe Pi, I think it's called, or PyAlertMe, one of those two, which allows you to control these. There's a few bugs in it, but it does, for on and off. I've made a couple of videos before of showing how to get basic control over these things. But yes, these do work to repeat the signal back, just as these do. These are pretty powerful repeaters, actually. They're pretty good for doing that. And these original AlertMe ones did exactly the same thing for their version of the system. In fact, they used to sell the hub, and before the SmartPlug product came out, they did have issues with people's motion sensors connecting back to the hub, and eventually they realized that really you needed at least one of these repeater devices to get things working properly. So anyway, I've opened this guy back up again. This is my one that I just looked at before. So let's have a peek inside this. There's 4 screws on this one. And really there's no batteries or anything inside here. It's just a case of having a quick peek just out of interest to see what they've changed and put them side by side. Nothing more exciting on the internet than watching somebody undo some screws. These bottom 2 are quite stiff, actually. So yeah, I'm quite keen on having these hub packages where you can talk to multiple different devices. I think there's some stuff you can do with Samsung Smart Things, actually, that allows you to talk to devices that are not Samsung's. Right. Oh. Wowzers. There's a fair old bit of stuff going on in there. Look at that. In comparison to the original AlertMe one, it's quite busy. We still have, what have we got on the top? Blimey. Yeah, okay, so you can see in the case on this one, the actuation for the little micro switch here is actually done on one side of this button. It's not central to the board like that one is. There's nothing. Oh, the shutters are also integrated onto this as well. In the UK, you have these safety shutters, and it's a good idea not to use those little like baby insert things, because they can force these down permanently as if there's something plugged in all the time. There was a study done recently about that. Anyway, never mind. It's quite a lot going on. See, on this one you've got HF manufacturer 250 volt 16 amp relay again, 5 volt DC operated, same as this Omron one here. Little transformer here, which I assume will be doing our drop down to 5 volts. And for all of the circuitry that's on here that's dealing with the Zigbee working and repeating, there's a little LED, capacitors, resistors and things. Interesting test points here. It says BGS 6183 main PCB, so British Gas PCB. Got a nice little blue board they've made there. And then there's this little riser board connected with this ribbon cable. And that's pretty much just your button and your LED really. Not much else going on the top there. And tucked behind here, this will be the antenna. Only so close I can get to this before the focus goes, but yeah, it's there's a lot more going on in there than in the old ones, isn't there? Very interesting. Well, that's pretty much it, really. That's all I was wanting to have a look at. A little comparison between the two. Yeah, it's quite interesting that they've integrated the actual socket onto the back of this, and now this is just a piece that comes off, whereas the shutter system and everything is actually built onto this front panel here on the original version. Oh, that's a little piece of foam for holding the battery in the right position. Yeah, I have to say I really like the original AlertMe SmartPlug design, mainly because of the fact that it hangs down from the socket a little bit, rather than this one that is very much, there's an awful lot more above than below, and quite often it's easier where your cables hang down. People have generally considered that your cable will hang down from the plug, so there tends to be a bit more space under a socket than above it, at least I've found anyway. But I have to say, of the two, I also rather prefer the less bling look of the 2007 model of SmartPlug than this one, which is just a little bit more glossy. Although I do the ring light on here is quite cute. So, well, that's about it, I think.